The hosts feel it would be a little unkind to present this podcast without just a word of friendly warning. We are about to unfold the story of Frankenstein, a man of science who sought to create a man after his own image without reckoning upon God. It is one of the strangest tales ever told. It deals with the two great mysteries of creation, life and death. I think it will thrill you. It may shock you. It might even horrify you. So if any of you feel that you do not care to subject your nerves to such a strain, now's your chance to. Well, we've warned you. Hello and welcome once again to the Frankencast. I'm the mad scientist, Anthony Bowman. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm joined as always by...
I am Dr. Terror.
Yeah, so we're talking about Dr. Terror's Gallery of Horrors. I guess is the John Carradine narrator guy. I guess that's Dr. Terror. I guess we're
I guess that's him. Or me. I don't know who it is.
Yeah, this is, one of those sort of a classic, late 60s, early 70s anthology film. And in fact, I was doing a little bit of research about it, and I think they may have gotten sued by Amicus Productions, the British production company that did a lot of these kind of anthology films, because they had a movie called Dr. Terror's House of Horrors. So this one often just gets abbreviated to being called Gallery of Horrors to get away from that. But
it's an AAP film, so I'm not surprised that they would jump on some other thing.
Yeah. In fact, I think there's some of the exterior footage is borrowed from some Roger Corman movies. There's, I actually I didn't even know this when we decided to talk about it, but just a couple of weeks ago over on the Patreon, I talked about a short film from this same director, David L. Hewitt. One of his earliest things was Monsters Crash the Pajama Party.
I saw that, yeah.
I didn't even make the connect. I was when I started watching this, I was like, David Hewitt, that sounds familiar. What have I just? And yeah, he did that short film that was, one of those movies that you would play in a theater and have actors come in and scare the audience and stuff. So definitely, just a classic exploitation guy doing whatever he could to get by. So of course he's, maybe using a title that sounds familiar so that people go see a thing expecting something else, that, just whatever he can do to make a quick buck. But ignoring all of that, it's a fun anthology movie. It doesn't, sometimes if you're doing a lot of stuff, kind of not above board, trying to make money quick, usually, the Pajama Party thing is not a great film, but this I thought was fun. This, I think they did a pretty good job here.
Yeah. And before we get too started, we've got to take a look at the slug lines that were from this film. Mm-hmm. There were three, and I just love them, all three of them. So shocking it will sliver your liver. That was pretty good. The world's weirdest movie, pretty good. But my favorite is Welcome to the Madness. which, having watched the film, I will say I have been welcomed to the madness.
Yeah.
It is mad, my friend.
Yeah, it certainly is. But yeah, they managed. They got a couple big name actors late in their career. Did which I think was a common thing here in the late 60s, early 70s. You get some of the classic early era monster movie guys. Obviously Ed Wood was really known for this with all of his stuff with Bela Lugosi. But this was a lot of these guys had kind of fallen on hard times, and it was easy to get them. For fairly cheap. So we have a lot of John Carradine in this. He plays the host, presumably Dr. Terror, as we mentioned, in between segments, and also is in one of the segments, actually the first one. And then we also have Lon Chaney Jr. Specifically in our most there's like two segments here that are fairly Frankensteiny, and he's in like the most Frankensteiny of all of them. So good to see both of those guys again. Always excited. I mean, yeah, we've definitely seen both of them, in classic Universal films. So yeah, I'm glad they were still getting work and getting to do cool monster movie stuff even this late in their careers.
It's amazing to see how long Carradine and Chaney have been able to do that for so long. Because the last time we've seen, I think the last time we've seen John Carradine in a Frankencast was the Frankenstein Island, and that was 1981, and this is 1967, and he's been doing the same shit for like 14 years or so.
Yeah,
24 years.
Yeah, because the first time we saw him on the Frankencast, I think, was House of Frankenstein in 1944. So yeah, I mean, like, that is quite a run.
Yeah, really. And then just this kind of crap of just like, I don't want to call it, I shouldn't call it crap, but just as small roles of just showing up, sort of doing this Rod Sterling thing he's doing here. He does have a role in one of the segments, but generally he's just standing, reading something, and then just and then in Frankenstein Island in '81, which is towards the end of his life, he's just saying the power, and other weird shit.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And it's funny because beyond that, like, we have probably David Hewitt's sort of like stable of actors that like play a character in every single segment. There's like 3 or 4 actors that there's somebody new in every one of the segments. So he definitely made this quick and dirty, but yeah, like it's a lot of fun. So
yeah,
good on him for that.
Yeah, definitely. And it's 5 segments, right?
Yeah,
and they're all pretty good. I think I really enjoyed, I think, all of them.
Yeah, I had a good time with all of them. I mean, some of them are more Frankensteiny than others, but the ones that I mean, like, we start out with like a witch one that I thought was real. That might be my favorite, actually. I think it was a lot of fun. And they're all kind of like, they're very simple. We're squeezing 5 of them into like an hour 20. So it's all of them kind of have like one little hook, and then we move on to the next one and stuff. But like, I thought they were all pretty fun. Yeah,
and 2 Frankensteins in there. So
yeah. Let's get into it. So yeah, as we said, we start out with Carradine as our host. And he's talking about like, witches, every generation there are people that are born with special powers. They use them for good or bad, witches, warlocks, etc. Wherever there are witches, there are people who are afraid of witches, which lead to witch hunts and stuff like that. And often, a lot of the people who suffer in those witch hunts are not actually witches. You can just accuse someone, but this story is a story about a real witch and a real curse. And so our first segment is called The Witch's Clock, which kind of like takes, he sort of, gives the title of each one as we go. So we go right into this like sort of old castle, old house kind of set. We've got a younger couple who have moved out to the country. They have lived in the city, but they want to kind of live a more rural life. And they found a great deal on this old house, and they're very in love. They're very flirty through this whole scene. And I think we get their names are Bob and Julie Farrell.
That's right.
And like, they're talking about this house is full of antiques. Some of the stuff maybe we'll keep, but we could probably make a quick buck on some of this stuff. Like, we can turn it around at antique stores. And Julie's like, is there a dungeon in this house? And Bob's like, yeah, there is a dungeon. You want to come see the dungeon? And she's into that. So they go downstairs. And, it's mostly just full of things covered with sheets and cobwebs and dust everywhere. But over in the corner, there's this beautiful, ornate old grandfather clock. And Julie's very into that. She's like, we should bring this upstairs. It would go really good in like the entryway. It's really beautiful. And Bob's, I think Bob's sort of the one who like, we find out that he's an author and that he wanted to kind of like, get out of the city and just be able to write and focus on his work. So I think he's willing to, do things Julie wants with the house, since he's kind of the one who led them out there. And so they get the clock upstairs, and in sort of classic low, but like we don't see them. It's just like they're downstairs, there's a clock, and then suddenly they're upstairs with the clock. We're not going to try to figure out how they managed it with just the two of them. But she wants to get it working again, and they manage to find a key and get it open. And like as soon as they get the pendulum swinging again, there's a knock at the door.
The funny thing about this clock that we see downstairs, we see it upstairs. It's night, it's day. This clock is like 80% of what we see in this segment.
Yeah.
And I think it's because they shot this whole movie in 5 days.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So they're doing this each segment in 1 day, which is pretty incredible. I mean,
yeah.
I just shot a 3-minute film in 1 day with prose, and it was a 12-hour day. I mean, that's 3 minutes, and these guys are doing like 8, 10, 15 minutes per. It's pretty incredible. So basically, They set up this one. 80% of the movie is just these guys standing in front of this clock. So they just set it up, they lit it, and they just had them set there. So anyway, it's just kind of, that's the way they get around it. And they do that in pretty much every one of it. But it's pretty funny once you look at it. It's just about the clock.
It's I mean, that makes sense. That it's almost like a play. We don't have time to move and rearrange the set and the lighting and all that. We're here. We put the camera, face it towards everything, and just go. Yeah,
exactly. So the clock gets started, right? And so like immediately they get a knock at the door, right?
Yeah, and they open the door, and this is, our John Carradine comes in, and like we hear the sound of a storm, and he's talking about it raining, but he is not wet, because again, we don't have time for all of that. Like we gotta film. So he introduces himself as Tristram Halbert, and he says he was coming here to meet the Mailer family, and Bob's like, oh no, we just bought the place. That the Mailers, they've been gone for years, from my understanding. They haven't been around in a long time. And Tristram is like, oh, that's a shame. I was just came in out of this storm, and I was hoping to stay the night with them, and I'd heard they might have work for me. And Bob and Julie kind of talk, and they're like, well, why don't you can stay the night. I mean, we're not going to send you back out in the storm. And I don't know, we just moved in. We're trying to get this place back in order. So maybe we can find some work for you. Maybe you want to stick around and help us out. And Tristram seems to like that idea. And then I think we just have, like you said, it's like it's day again. We're still in the same spot. Now Bob is sitting down. This is where we find out that he writes mysteries and everything. I think then we have like later Tristram is gone, and they get another knock at the door, and this time it's a neighbor popping in to just say hi and, introduce himself and welcome them to the neighborhood. And this neighbor is real weird and kind of like, I think we've all had an interaction like this where it's like, I'm done talking to this person and they are not getting the hint that like it's time to move on. He's very chatty. He's like, oh, you're a writer? I've got ideas. I could tell you some book ideas. Maybe, we could work on something together. And Bob's like, right now I'm working on an article. I'm not even working on a book right now, but we're here. I've heard there were some witch burnings in town, and I'm researching about, all the witch burnings in New England. So I need to get to work. Why don't you come back another day when you got more time to stick around? And the neighbor's like, oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, I've got things to do also. I'm a very busy man. But, well, next time I come by, we'll have to talk about the graves in your basement. And, of the witch burnings, there was one real witch. And she happened to live here, Lucy Mailer. So you should look into that. And I'll talk to you about it next time I'm here. While I'm leaving, I heard there were rumors that she enchanted a clock. Nobody's proven it. Yeah, who knows? But I heard that, if the clock could bring people back from the dead. And then he leaves, and Bob's like, "Wait, what? You finally tell me something interesting right as you leave." So I think the next thing we see is Bob down in the basement, and sure enough, there's a bunch of. It's like the the crypt, like the panels on the wall where you can see people are buried. And one of them is for Tristram Halbert. And it says he died in 1673. And it seems like this is set in, the film is set in, the 60s, in the present time. So, this was, a couple hundred years ago. That's interesting. So, but we cut away from him, processing this crazy bit of information, and upstairs, back in front of the clock, we have Tristram standing there with Julie, and he's hypnotizing her. And he's like, you want to leave your husband. He's cruel and sadistic, and you're going to tell him how awful he is, and that you want to run away with me. And Julie's just standing there stock still. I think Bob comes upstairs in the middle of this, and Tristram is like, I believe Julie has something she'd like to say to you. And Bob's like, no. Before I've got things to say to you first, actually. I know about Lucy Mailer. I know your secret. I know why you're here, and I'm going to stop it. You're not going to do any of this. And he just goes dashing towards the clock. He knows the clock is where all the power is. He's going to destroy the clock and stop the curse. But we get Tristram is like, no, wait, you don't understand the curse. And that's when Bob crashes into the clock, and we get, there's not a lot of special effects in this, as we've said. It's mostly a play with sets and everything. So when they have to do special effects, they don't look great, but they're doing their best with what they've got. So when he hits the clock, there's an explosion that is clearly just superimposed over the footage. So we have all the actors kind of making faces like they're on fire, and waving their hands and stuff, and the fire is just kind of superimposed over. But yeah, the house is kind of exploding, burning down. So the clock is more powerful than Bob realized. And then we just cut to sometime a little later, and now we have a new couple moving into the house. And this couple, we had the young couple who were very much in love, and now we have an older couple who they don't seem like they like each other much anymore. They're kind of bickering, arguing about things. And
one of them smoking a cigarette.
Yeah, very, very 60s. And they got a great deal on the house, because apparently some other young couple bought it, and then they just disappeared. They just left abruptly. And so I guess the house went up on auction or something. And she's like, oh, look at this clock. We should get this clock starting up again. And she, starts the pendulum. And this time he doesn't even knock. Just in walks Tristram, and he's like, hi, I'm looking for the Mailer family. Or is that you all? And we just cut away. So that's every segment here kind of ends with a little gag.
Yeah. And it's a pretty good ending.
Yeah, I like that. This clock, it cycles. It's just going to keep coming back. So whatever Bob did, it seemed like it exploded the house, but really all it did was presumably kill Bob and Julie. The house is still here. The clock is still here. Tristram is still here. So the curse, lives to cycle another time around. And yeah, it seems like whatever powers Lucy Mailer had were pretty strong, and she's going to maintain her grasp over this town who unjustly killed her as a witch. So yeah, it's a fun little segment. It almost feels like a really tiny little Tales from the Crypt episode or something, or like. But yeah, I thought it was fun, and I think obviously Carradine does a great job in it. He's he has a quality to him where he's like creepy but like friendly. Like he's not Bela Lugosi, who's just like charming and evil. Carradine, he's got a folksy quality to him. Like you like him, but he's a little off, and he's perfect in this role.
Yeah. I liked how the narrative just took off as soon as the jerk came in and sort of mentioned this, the backstory. Mm-hmm. It just immediately went to, I'm going to go to the clock and mess it up and turn it into a fire, and just boom, it was like boom, it was happening, and I just love that.
Yeah,
and you can do that when you're working in a really short, quick segment like that, and it really was great. I really loved that ending.
Yeah, me too.
Almost all of them have really good endings.
Yeah, like which for an anthology like this, especially squeezing 5 segments into like an hour 20, and then squeezing all of the filming into 5 days, like there could have been some filler segments that don't really land, but they all kind of end with a really good button. So yeah, I did appreciate that. But
they started. They had the first segment being this one, and it's for a reason. It's a really good one.
I saw that in some markets, when they got, kind of cease and desisted by Amicus, I think they tried a few different titles as it like went around like drive-ins and stuff. And one of them, they just called it The Witch's Clock. So I think starting with this one and using that as a title, I think, they definitely knew this was like one of the strongest ones.
That's cool.
But yeah, so when that ends, we go back to Carradine, as the host, and now he's talking about creatures of darkness and brotherhoods of evil, and that half man, half beasts terrorize the countryside, back in the earlier days, and that there were people told folk tales about this and about ways to defeat such creatures, but there's kind of like a little bit of sarcasm there where he's like, yeah, they used silver and religious symbols and various herbs and things like that. But here in the present day, we don't need that kind of stuff because we've got police. We just call the police and they deal with everything. And it seems like he's like, yeah, we're stupid now. We don't tell these stories. And so we don't know how to handle these things anymore. Which sure enough is kind of what this next segment is about. Which this segment is called King Vampire. And yeah, we immediately, he talks about the police. We go to 2 homicide police officers at a police station, and they're talking about, 13 girls have been killed in this area recently, and they've all had puncture wounds. And the newspapers are calling the serial killer King Vampire, but clearly, I mean, vampires don't exist. It's just a crazy guy, right? Who's doing this? And the other cop's like, well, I mean, I don't think he's crazy because he's doing a great job. Like there's not any clues, there's no patterns for us to trace, so we have no idea where he's going to strike next. We have no leads on who he is. So I mean, he's evil for sure, but I don't think he's crazy. I think he's very, very smart. And to make matters worse, he's striking, in parts of town where people aren't as comfortable talking to the police. So we're not getting any leads from eyewitnesses even. This is, I mean, obviously this is a real thing, the kind of what they call it, like the lesser dead, serial killers that strike, sex workers and drug addicts and homeless people and people that, have kind of fallen outside of like the margins of society. And so like I think we have like the sort of main, like the inspector, I guess, who's like, yeah, I don't know what we can do, and we have our main detective John. He's like, I'm gonna talk to people. I'm gonna figure this out. Like I just need to connect with the community. That's the answer. And so he does. We cut to. I think this segment has two like sets. We've got the police station, and we've got this sort of back alley.
Right.
And he talks to several people who don't want to tell him anything. One man is like, I saw the killer, but from a distance, and I didn't see his face, but he dressed like an undertaker. He had this, very formal look about him, but everything seemed a little off. I'm not really, he's a very slight person, very, thin and short. But yeah, I never saw his face, so I couldn't pick him out of a crowd. And John keeps kind of pushing and asking and we just have like people just kind of gossiping and chatting or whatever. And there is an old lady who's like, I think I did almost get a look at his face. But still, he was kind of hidden in shadow, but the face was pale. He looked like a corpse or something. He just didn't even seem alive. And the detective's like, okay, well, we can work with that. That's something at least. So we cut away to him describing this to the chief. And we kind of, I think it maybe intercuts a little bit. We have him talking to the chief, and then we see in that back alley, that old lady who did finally give them some good information is of course punished for that immediately and is killed by our vampire figure. But the way they shoot it works in the dark as well. Like we don't see who it is. We don't get a good look at their face either. So us as the audience is as useless as eyewitnesses, as the people there actually, in the story. I
don't know if you noticed, but the actor playing the police inspector is always sitting by a desk, and he has a bunch of papers in front of him, which clearly is his script, because he's constantly looking down at the paper. And then, did you notice that?
I didn't, but that makes sense. I mean, if they're, again, filming this in a day, and I think he was one of the guys who is in every single segment. So I'm sure, he's got to learn all his new lines for tomorrow. This was probably a nice break. Like today, I'm just going to read the script and then I'll memorize for the next part.
Yeah, that's a good read. He just reads from the paper.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
But so yeah, we then cut back to like John, the detective back out in the alley, talking, trying to get more information, and they're like, we didn't see anything, and if we did, I mean, look at this lady. Like, she tried to tell you something, she's dead. We're staying out of this. We're not helping the cops. That's it. But they're like, basically, like, you got this lady killed, and John's like, if everybody cooperated and helped, we could catch the guy, and then you're all safe. Like, so it's better to talk than not. And then we're sort of interrupted from this conversation because some of the other, denizens of this area, they have found a guy that they think is the vampire, and they're going to do a little bit of, frontier justice here. This guy is like a very thin, small guy dressed in, kind of overly formal clothes. He's got a top hat and a cape and everything. And they're like, where were you? You killed that lady? And he's like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. And then they're like, wait, he's wearing like white gloves. Like he's that level of fancy, but there's blood on those gloves. And they're like, see, yeah, you killed that lady. You've got her blood on your hands. Like you've been caught red-handed literally here. And he's like, no, I know it looks bad, but I swear a dog attacked me and I killed the dog. So yeah, I mean, I'm guilty of killing a dog, but I did not kill an old lady. And they're not hearing that. So they just kill this guy here in the street. They just like beat him to death in the alley. And then we right away cut to like back at the police station where
real quick, something of interest, the poor guy that got killed there, the actor is the producer.
Okay.
That was much, yeah. Apparently, the actor who was supposed to show it didn't show up, and so the producer had to jump in and do this. Which I'm sure a lot of actors were happy to knock the brains out of a producer.
That's pretty good. Yeah, I love that. Like the show must go. Okay, he's not here. Who can fit into the costume? Let's get to work.
Get into it. He's getting enough. Go for it.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's pretty great, huh?
Yeah. So yeah, after he gets killed, we go back to the police station, and it's like a couple days have gone by, and the chief is like, well, 3 more murders since they killed that guy, so clearly he wasn't the killer. I don't know what to do. And then John is like, well, unfortunately, I've been called off to another case. I got to leave. I got to leave this in your capable hands. So good luck. But one thing I was thinking about is they keep describing the killer as being very thin and small. What if it's a woman? What if it's a woman disguising herself as a man to make it harder to track her down? And just a thought. I gotta go though. See you later. Good luck. Bye. And so John leaves, and the chief is like, "Huh, that's interesting. I don't know. Maybe that's an idea." And his secretary is sitting there, and he's like, "Why don't take some notes? We're going to talk about that. Maybe this is something we can investigate." But I'm now that John's left, he was really spearheading this. I just don't know if we're going to ever solve this. I think it's just going to be a mystery forever. And the secretary has like gotten up and walked around behind him as if she's going to like look over his shoulder and help him with stuff. And then we see, she like goes in to like bite him on the neck. She was the king vampire all along. So John was right. It was a lady. And she was right under their noses this whole time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought that was a fun one too. Yeah. So of course they're never going to track her down, and she's there for all the meetings. She knows what clues they're finding. She knows exactly how to hide this.
Exactly.
So yeah. Another pretty fun one.
And really another just bang.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, they don't waste time. Like she goes in and there is one other thing that I think was fun in this movie, that because we don't have special effects and they're going quick, every time that somebody is killed, we can't afford blood. We can't. So like they just like superimpose something over the screen. Like I think this time it's like a red bat that just like, swoops in. Sometimes it is like blood going down the screen. I can't remember what, one time it's like a heart, like there's just various stuff.
Yeah.
It's just like they've like drawn this on the actual film negative or whatever, in kind of covering up, like censoring out the special effect that they didn't actually have.
And they use it for segues too. They just, and it's do like go across the scene. Mm-hmm. It's very 60s Batman.
Yes.
But it's really cool. I really like it. David Hewitt went on to become a special effects, to do special effects. The director.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he did some stuff for Willow and some bigger stuff. So, I think he's directed. Maybe he was doing that during the time. I don't know.
That makes sense. Like
the screenwriter actually was also a special effects guy. This is his first and only screenplay. This guy Gary Hancock is his only screenwriting, and he mostly did special effects. So, bunch of special effects guys doing this thing.
Yeah, that makes sense because it seems like a bunch of showmen getting together and like doing something for fun. So it makes sense that they would be special effects guys, and this is sort of their own little project.
But I love those effects throughout it because it really helps. It's always red.
Yeah, it's just fun. It's a little cartoonish, but like in a good way. Like I really appreciated it.
Yeah, it totally works.
and yeah, as you said, they work as a transition. So like she like like lunges at his neck, and then we just get like I'm pretty sure it's a bat this time, and then we're just back to John Carradine. Like, right. This time he talks about there was an epidemic of undead in the countryside, and there was one scientist. Some said he was mad, maybe he was, who knows? But he was working to try to make the undead dead again. So sort of a reverse of like what we usually hear about Frankenstein. But as he messed with the ideas of life and death, he eventually became obsessed with isolating the spark of life, and that maybe he could revive the dead, and that would figuring it out in one way would help him figure it out in the other direction as well. And so, yeah, this takes us to Monster Raid, our third segment. And we like, again, we're not going to waste a lot of time here. We have this sort of hunchback assistant-ish guy named Desmond, who is talking like to a wooden crate. His master is inside it, and he's trying to get him free. And he breaks the crate open, and out steps something sort of dead. It kind of looks like a mummy. He's kind of like, he seems sort of aged and like shriveled up and sort of decayed. And he's, right away the master is like, we need to get back to my home so that I can reunite with my wife, Helen. And
again, quick, that decayed corpse, another actor didn't show up.
Okay.
So it's the producer again.
That's great. That's so
Russ
funny.
Jones. Yeah, he did it. Got all that. That's him. Right.
Yeah. Huh. And so, yeah, we have them. This whole segment will kind of bounce back and forth between flashbacks of like what happened before. So we'll find out that the master, his name is Dr. Spaulding, and we'll get flashbacks as to how he ended up, in like this decayed thing inside a crate. And then we'll also get him speeding through the countryside to get to them. But of course, I'm pretty sure this is one of the Corman bits of film. We just have like stock footage of like a stagecoach with like galloping horses,
sure looks like it.
And it will just like cut to this footage. It's the same shot every time, and we just have voiceover of Dr. Spaulding inside the carriage, talking, and then we'll go back into the flashback. But so we find out that he's not reuniting with his wife Helen because he loves and misses her and is going to be able to see her again. He's angry at her because she teamed up with his old partner Dr. Savard to end his life, and now he's going to get his revenge. So we get our flashback of Savard and Spaulding talking. And Spaulding he's got some experiment he's working on where he's using like baby chicks, and wants Savard to help. And Savard's like, yeah, I could help you with that tomorrow, but there's a a big party tonight, this ball, we should all go to it. And Spaulding's like, I'm too busy with my work, but you should take Helen because she's bored. She's, I'm always working. I know she gets tired of it. So take her out and show her a nice time, and then we can get to work tomorrow. And so as soon as, Savard agrees to that, we have him like go into the next room, and he talks to Helen, where she's like, does he suspect anything? And he's like, nah, he doesn't know anything. He's a fool. Like, yeah. So like, this is the plan. He knew Spaulding wasn't going to go to the party, and he wanted to take Helen. They're having an affair. And they don't feel guilty about this because Spaulding is clearly, he's wrapped up in his work. He doesn't care about Helen. All he cares about is his work. So Helen might as well have a good time on the side. It's not bothering Spaulding in any way. But as they leave to go to the party, we see that Desmond, our assistant that we saw at the beginning, loyal Desmond, he was in the room kind of like ducked behind something. He overheard all of this. So we, again cut away to, the sort of like mad, resurrected Spaulding in the carriage, talking about his revenge. And then we see back in the flashback, Desmond coming into Spaulding and like, Master, I hate to have to tell you bad news, but just overheard something that I feel like I need to share with you. And he says, I think Helen's having an affair with Savard. And at first Spaulding's like, what makes you think that? Surely not. She's so loyal to me. Of course she would never. And he's like, no, I was just in the next room. I heard them talking. Like, they definitely are having an affair. And then Spaulding's like, yeah, okay, yeah, I did suspect that they were, but I was really hoping I was wrong. So, but thank you for telling me. I'll figure something out. Later, Savard comes to work and Spaulding's like, all right, we're ready with the experiments. It's time to do some human testing. And I was hoping maybe I could test on you. What do you think? And it seems like, he's gonna get Savard by testing on him. But Savard is too clever for that. And he's like, nah, I'm not okay with that. What about Desmond, your assistant? He'll do anything for you, right? Why don't we test on Desmond? Spaulding, of course, is like, no, we can't do Desmond. There's reasons, but Desmond would never work. Then it's like we have like some time has passed and it's time to do the experiment. And when Savard gets there, Spaulding is like, I've decided we're going to experiment on me instead. That's what we'll do. And Savard's like, sure, fine, if that's what you want to do. I think it cuts back and forth pretty quick. We get a lot of present tense Spaulding just kind of ranting. He kind of reminds me of like an Invisible Man, like from, in that just like his brain is broken. He's just kind of crazy. He's like, I thought that this experiment would make me more powerful and then I could defeat Savard. But what I didn't know was that he had tampered with the formula. What a fool I was. And we have like back in the past, Spaulding is laid out on a slab unconscious. Like he's not actually dead, but he is completely out of commission. And we have Savard and Helen talking about this. What do we do? He's not really dead. He's kind of in suspended animation. And Savard's like, I mean, once we bury him, he's dead, right? I mean, like, we don't have to think about it anymore. He's gone. So Helen's like, okay, if you want to, I do it, then we can be together. And we have, back in the stagecoach, Spaulding says, little did they know that, I was in suspended animation, and even as my body began to decay, I still lived on, trapped beneath the earth. So that kind of like, gets us to where we were at the beginning, that, okay, yes, Savard put him in a crate, buried him, and now Desmond has dug him back up to get their revenge. But we also, in the present, find out that Helen is lamenting her part in this because apparently as soon as they got rid of Spaulding, Savard was not particularly interested in her either. He just wanted access to Spaulding's work. So, he killed Dr. Spaulding and then dumped her. So now she's alone and feeling a little bit of guilt about what she did to her husband. And this segment, I would say, is maybe the one that ends the most abruptly in a way that's not as satisfying, because we have this is called Monster Raid, and we spent this whole thing, we're filling in the backstory, we're also seeing this carriage speed across the country, like we're getting to the raid. This is what we're building towards.
Yes.
And then when we finally get there, it just kind of ends. Spaulding comes in and he's like, I will have my, it's like a POV thing where we the camera is Spaulding and we just see his hands like reaching in front of the camera. And he's like, I'm here to have my revenge and no one's going to escape. Desmond has already, blocked all of the exits. We're all trapped in here. Now we can be together forever. and we just have him like choking Savard and also choking Helen. And again, I think we get like some kind of thing superimposed over the camera, so we don't actually see the choking. And then we're just back to Carradine again.
Yeah. This is the weakest of the segments. There's one good moment when he's about to choke Helen. We see the gross hands, and suddenly, big red blood heart appears. It's really beautiful. It's really wonderful little thing there. But other than that, it's really pretty short.
Yeah, with this one using a lot of stock footage, or presumably stock footage, like I suspect that this was like probably their shortest work day. Maybe they used this as like second unit for some of the other stuff if they needed to or whatever. Like, because it's like one scene that they filmed in the the flashback, and then they did the POV thing, and then probably did a bunch of ADR recording of like Spaulding ranting in the carriage, and then they were good to go on this one.
Yeah. And it goes on and on with it's not very good.
Yeah. But this does lead into, our more like, obviously this one was vaguely Frankensteinish, but our next one is the one that is more explicitly Frankenstein.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So we have Carradine is talking about, in medieval times, every advancement in human knowledge was, hard fought. It was very difficult to learn things. We had every step forward involved a lot of work to get there. We continue to this day. It's still every advancement requires a lot of work, and sometimes that work has to go outside the bounds of what is acceptable in society. And back then, this often led to doctors needing access to bodies so that they could do experiments and autopsies and research. And so of course there was some grave robbing, but it was all in service of finding the spark of life, which is the title of this segment. And so now we cut to a science lab, and we are introduced to Dr. Mendel, Lon Chaney Jr. So he's our sort of main figure here. And he has invited two students from that a lecture just ended, and he has asked them back to his lab. He was like, you seemed particularly interested in the lecture. Like, he had some questions, wanted to spend some time talking more specifically with you all about stuff that maybe it's not ready for the lectures, but since you're interested, I had a colleague back in the day who used electricity to revive dead things. And he would only do it for a few minutes, but he believed that if he kept working, that maybe he could get something to stay alive. But before he could do it, he was unceremoniously kicked out of the university for his work. His papers were destroyed, so all that work was gone. And I hope someday maybe I can recreate what he did and get it even a little further, because Baron Erich von Frankenstein, he was a genius, and he was just too far ahead of his time. So yeah, obviously
Frankenstein. Oh.
Yeah. So he shows them a little bit. He kind of, does the galvanism thing. We've got a corpse on a slab here. He, hooks it up to some electrodes. Its hand kind of reaches up. And he's like, this is the first step. This is what, the earliest stages of Frankenstein's work. I'll show you some more though. And then before he can, there's a phone call. He goes and answers it. Something's going on. And he's like, well, guys, I gotta go. You can hang out in the lab and do some research if you want, and we'll talk later. So he leaves, and we have these two students, and they've just kind of been like silently listening to this whole thing. But as soon as he leaves, they immediately start mocking. They're like, "Oh, old Professor Mendel, he's talking nonsense. What was that he said? Life is electrical by nature, but is electricity light? That's all. It's silly." But what if just for fun, just to mess with him, what if we tried what if we tried to continue his experiments? We'll bring this thing back to life and really spook him. That'll be really fun, right? And yeah, so they're kind of like humoring him, sort of mocking him. They don't really believe this is going to happen, but they think it could be a fun time. So I think that's when they're going to take they're going to roll the corpse out. But as they start to, Mendel gets back and he's like, "Oh, what are y'all doing?" And they're like, "Oh, we wanted to talk to you. We had an idea. We got a project that we want to work on, and we were going to see if we could use this for the project. We were just so inspired by your brilliant lecture and the things you were saying. We just respect you so much." Just clearly, just like mocking him the whole way through, and he's not getting it at all. He believes everything they're saying, and he's like, "Oh, that's great. Why don't I? I could join you. I can help you with the experiment. What do you say? Let's all team up together." And they're like, "Oh, yeah, okay, maybe. Yeah, you could help." And then he's like, "Oh, what are you actually doing? I guess I should ask that first, right? What's the plan?" And they're like, "Well, we said you inspired us, so we're thinking about reviving the corpse." And he's like, "No, you couldn't do that. We can't do that." And they're like, "I mean, you said you wanted to like advance Frankenstein's work. You wanted to take it to the next level. Why not?" And right away, Mendel's like, yeah, why not? Let's do it. Let's revive a corpse. Come on. Yeah, he's ready. So they right away, they get to work. They connect more electrodes, stronger currents, and we have like the corpse, it sits fully up and like groans and then falls back over dead. Like, it's closer to life, but still basically just galvanism. Mendel is like, "All right, we're really onto something though." Like that was, he made a sound, like it seemed like he was like alive for a second. But it's time for class. I got to go do a lecture. Why don't I just leave you guys to it? You keep working and I'll be back in an hour or so. And so, yeah, as soon as he leaves, the two students again, they're like, are we serious? We're going to really do this? And one of the students is like a little nervous and the other one's like, nothing's going to, it's nothing. It's not real life. Like we can just keep playing around with this. It's fun. It'll be fine though. And I think then we have like later, Mendel comes back, they keep trying, they keep failing, and he's getting disheartened. He's like, I don't think this is going to work. There must be something we're missing. And the two students are like, "Oh, we tried our best." They're kind of trying to comfort him. Like I think they're kind of like looking at each other, behind his back, like, "Yeah, right." But they're at least pretending to be supportive. And then the corpse does sit up and like growls and is just like awake. Frankenstein adaptations really love to do this. It's not really in the novel, but like I would say at least half of Frankenstein adaptations do this where like, "Oh, we give up and we failed." And then that's when the monster actually wakes up. We have to do the fake out.
Yeah.
Sure enough, here he sits up and like seems kind of angry and growl, doing the kind of monster growl and everything. So they like grab him and hold him down, and Mendel, like the students are holding him down, and Mendel is like, "Oh man, I can't wait to tell all my colleagues, like I'm a genius, I did it," and he just runs out, and they're like trying to hold this thing down that's alive and angry. And I think they like strap it down or something, and then they like step away and they're talking and they're like, "I can't believe like we did it. We were just joking and we've done it." But he can't possibly be like really alive and conscious, right? This has got to be some kind of like, he's going to just fall over dead again here in a minute, right? But the monster just like sits up and is like, "Nope, I'm alive. I'm good. Thanks for bringing me back." And it's funny, we have variations where like the monster has no memories, is like a new being, and sometimes, in this case, it's just a full corpse. Like we haven't like sewn anything together, so it's just this guy back to life. So he has his memories. He can talk. He's like fluent, but he does have like a kind of halting speech, as if he's like trying to like get the muscle memory back to like talk. So it's like, thank you for saving me. And yeah, he's got his full memories, and they're like, so your body was donated to science because you were executed for murder. Do you remember that? And he's basically like, yeah, I murdered somebody, and then I paid the price, but I did my time. I was executed, so I should be free, right? You should let me go. And they're like, I'm not sure if we should do that. And he's like, but why not? I want my revenge. It's like, that's why. That's why not. We don't want to send an immortal corpse out for revenge and sick him on the community. That seems bad. So they but like he's not even strapped down, but he's just he's not moving quick enough for them to be too worried. They like go get Mendel, and they're like, hey, Professor, the guy we revived, he's an executed murderer who wants his revenge. What we should do something about that, right? And Mendel's like, oh yeah, I guess probably so. Maybe this wasn't a great idea. And they're like, we gotta kill him, right? We can't let him live. And Mendel's like, but we can't be murderers. No, we shouldn't kill him. And they're like, it's not really murder, right? He's already dead. What we did, nobody knows about it. So let's just set things back to right, the way it was when the corpse arrived here. And Mendel's like, yeah, I guess you're right. So who's going to do it then? And they're like, why don't we draw straws? Well, one of us will do it. And sure enough, Mendel ends up drawing the straw. He's got to be the one. And they're like, good luck. We'll see you later. And they just abandon him. And, Chaney is great in this. I think this like late era Chaney, he played a lot of characters who were just kind of like, sort of sad, like idiots, like you just kind of felt bad for them. They were in the wrong place at the wrong time. Like he often, he played mute characters sometimes. He's just kind of like a bumbling, sympathetic, fool. And like, that's kind of like, he's clearly a brilliant scientist, but he's also kind of dumb at the same time. And so you just feel bad that he's, these two like students have, gotten him into this trouble and then abandoned him to deal with it. Yeah. And yeah, it's a really good role for him. He really does a good job with it. And so, yeah, they leave, and Mendel walks over to the corpse, and the corpse is like, what were you all talking about? And Mendel's like, I can't say, it's a secret, but I really hate to do this, but it must be done. And he's like, while he's saying all this, he's like soaking a rag in ether, and he like, goes over to try to like, kill the monster again. And again, it's like he dashes at the monster with the rag at its face, and we get some sort of wipe over the screen. But this one doesn't take us back to to Carradine. We get another little scene here where like the students arrive back later to the lab, and we have the mad science slab with the corpse under it, covered up with a sheet. And they're like, oh, good. Mendel managed to kill the thing we brought back to life. So everything's fine. So I guess we should head out. Like we're done with all this, right? We need to move on. And the other guy's like, let's just, I want to see the corpse again, just for my own, comfort, to know that it's really truly dead. So they pull back the sheet, and of course it's not our corpse. It's Professor Mendel, who obviously, clearly the monster got the best of him and managed to take him out. And so they're both like standing over the slab looking down, and they're like, well then, if that's Professor Mendel, where is Amos Duncan, the killer? And we see that he's sneaking up behind them, and that, again, we get like a wipe that transitions us back to Carradine. So this one I thought was fun. This was a good, great sort of gag ending.
I think he has a knife. I think he's coming out with a knife.
Yeah. And you feel bad that Mendel had to die in the process, but these two students, they seem kind of like bad guys, and it seems like they're getting their comeuppance. So I like that we kind of get to see them have the killer sneak up on them. So it's again, this feels like a bad guys gets what's coming to them, kind of Tales from the Crypt-ish ending.
It was a good Frankenstein story too.
Yeah, I thought this was fun. I liked this idea of like reviving a whole criminal who is just like, now I get a chance. It almost seems like Igor in the old versions where he's like, they tried to kill me, they hanged me, but I didn't die, so now I'm gonna get them back and all that. So it's fun and just like basically like literal gallows humor here, right?
Totally.
So I thought that was fun.
I agree that Chaney was great for the role. I mean, those close-ups, you could see life had been really tough on him, but he was really wanted to keep going and make something, and here's his chance. Mm-hmm. It was great. It was perfect for him.
Yeah, and we've definitely seen more stuff from him even further into it. Like we had the Al Adamson stuff, the Dracula versus Frankenstein, where he's like, I forget what his name is, but he's like the monstrous mute assistant, because I think at that point he had like throat cancer and couldn't even talk anymore.
Right.
And there was some like made for TV Frankenstein. I forget what it was called, but the one where like he was in such bad health that like people thought he was like maybe drunk on set, but I think it was just him genuinely just being too old to really be doing it anymore. Right. But he just had to, he had to work. I think he loved the work and then also just had to, because he just needed money to get by. And this is what he was good at. So, good that he was able to find roles, and unfortunate that there wasn't a system to take care of him later in life. But I'm glad that we got these. Yeah, these performances from him. I'm glad that they exist, that he gets to live on in that way at least.
For sure. I thought the sets were pretty funny because they kept like, let's go talk, and they would move like 5 feet away. They were sort of that guy could hear them from a minute away.
Yeah, this one was literally a single set. Like the camera was going back and forth from like one edge of the stage to the other, basically.
Yeah, it was definitely one set.
Yeah.
Speaking of sets, I was wondering where they shot this, and I looked it over, and it was a place called Hollywood Stage at 28.2815 West Sunset, and I know that place.
Okay.
It's really near where I live, even closer to when I used to live, and it's an upscale Mexican restaurant now.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's literally like about a mile from my house. So I have to go over there and have a quesadilla or something. Anyway.
That feels right. That feels like an appropriate end for this set. But
spark of life.
Yeah. So
anyway.
That takes us to our last segment where we have Carradine one last time. He wants to talk about the most famous of all of the frightful folk tales. Of course, the story of the vampire. Those nocturnal creatures that symbolize man's fear of the dark. And tonight we'll explore that with the tale of Count Alucard, which these sort of exploitation movies, they love a Count Alucard. Like I think, I don't know if was it like Son of Dracula, the Universal film? Was that the first time we had an Alucard, or did that predate that? Was there like a literary version of this?
It shows up so often.
Yeah. Which is funny because nowhere in this does anyone ever say Alucard or Dracula. Like there's usually it's a gag where like they're like, oh, I didn't even realize Alucard is Dracula backwards, and all, but like that never comes up in this at all. we start with Jonathan Harker in a carriage talking to the driver, and they're arguing. The driver's basically like, "This is as far as I'm taking you," and Harker's like, "You said you take me to the castle," and he's like, "No, we don't. Nobody trusts what's going on up at that castle. This is as far as I go. You're gonna have to walk the rest of the way." And Harker's like, "Yeah, when I got into town, I heard all these local superstitions. I'm not interested in that. I got work to do. I guess I'm gonna make my way there alone since you won't help me." And again, because we don't have a set for him to walk his way up to the castle, we just immediately cut to him there, where he's greeted by the Count, who is like, Halloween store costumed version of a Dracula, just a very straightforward. And right away, Dracula or Alucard is ready to, or he like serves dinner to Harker, and he's like, I don't eat much these days, but I want enjoy your dinner while we talk business. They're like going over some paperwork. This is like the Dracula story where it's like, he's come there for, a business deal, some real estate stuff. And Harker's like, "Okay, I'll get all this stuff notarized, and then you can sign it tomorrow morning." And the Count's like, "Oh, no, I'm not out in the morning. I have a rare ancestral malady, and I have to sleep during the day. I'm only awake at night. So we'll talk business tomorrow night. And in the meantime, I'll show you to your room. You can occupy yourself in the day, or you may want to rest so that you're awake when I'm awake, whatever works for you." So we cut to Harker alone in his room, and suddenly we have a very classic vampire bride girl who comes in, in a white flowy gown, straight out of like a Hammer Dracula movie, and she like wakes Harker up, and he's like, who are you? What are you doing? And she's like, "Oh, I came to see you because I want you." And then we see she has, vampire teeth. And again, it's the kind of thing where she kind of like dashes towards him. We get something superimposed over the screen. But this time, I think she does actually bite him. But before she can, kill him or turn him or whatever, we hear a bunch of loud commotion from outside. And she's interrupted and just like dashes away out of the room. And Harker's like, what's going on? So he goes downstairs to investigate, and he bumps into the Count, who's like, "What happened, Harker? Looks like you got a little blood on your neck or something." And Harker's like, I don't know. That's weird. What's going on outside? I hear like a commotion. And then, obviously we're not going to go outside. We don't have a set for that. But we have somebody burst in, and he's like, "I'm the single cast member here to represent the angry mob that I promise is directly outside." And he says that there was a child attacked in the forest, and it looked like there was a woman that they saw, who was responsible, and they followed her here, and they're trying to capture her, and. So Harker's like, "Well, I'd be happy to help with your search, with whatever you need." And they describe this as this woman in white, and Harker's like, that sounds familiar. Sounds very familiar. So he leaves. Him and the guy from the mob, they go out the door. So now we just have the Count there alone, and he immediately. With a superimposed special effect thing, turns into a bat and flies away. This is probably the best special effect in the whole film. We love a flappy bat here, so I was glad to get one of those. And I think then we're just like again we got to go to a new set. We're just like at a nearby cemetery. Where they're like, "We got to catch the woman before she returns to her grave, or else she'll be safe until tomorrow and she'll attack again." I think then we have like, they're down in the crypt. It's time. But as they're headed to the crypt, we see the vampire bride, who has isolated one of the mob people, and is able to, she kills him. like bites his neck. And again, we get like some kind of superimposed thing. And the mob hears the screaming, and they find him, but she's gotten away. So when they track her, they finally get down to like an underground crypt, and they can tell this must be where she went because there's the crypt is full of bats, and also it looks like there were a bunch of cobwebs across the door, but now the cobwebs are all broken, so somebody must have come and gone through here recently. So they all go in, and first they find one coffin that they open, and there's a woman in there, and they stake her and kill her right away. And they're like, oh wait, there's another coffin. Maybe there's 2 vampires down here. So I was like, oh, is this going to be Dracula, Alucard, whatever? But no, they open this one and it's empty. And they're like, oh, well, I guess she's got to come back. She has to sleep in the coffin at night. So let's just wait for her. And sure enough, this is the woman that attacked Harker. She like pops up, and they are able to stake her really easily. There's not really, I expected a little bit more of a fight here, but no, they basically, and there's enough of the mob, I guess. They grab her, they stake her. And again, we don't see the violence. We get something kind of cover. I think this is where we see a heart as they, stake her through the heart. But that's not the end. Obviously, we know there's still the count, and we got to get a good like joke ending for this one as well. So it's just like a little later, Harker's gotten back to the castle. He's talking to the count, and the count's like, yeah, I heard you defeated two vampire women. So congratulations. You've, saved this whole community from the scourge of the vampire, and everyone can be safe. They don't have to fear going out at night anymore, and that's all due to you. So I'm sure everyone in town really appreciates your service. And Harker's like, well, yeah, I mean, that's good and all, but I'm not done. There's I think there's another vampire, because I think there's a sire, a male vampire, who turned those 2 women. And the count's like, oh, well, that's a shame. Like, I don't know, how are you going to find that? Like, where would you possibly expect to find? Vampires are very smart. They're very, very elusive. And Harker's like, I know who it is. I don't need to try to track him down and figure it out. I've already done that. And the count's like, well, if you're saying what I think you're saying, I think it's time that you get punished for your meddling. Harker like pulls out a stake, and he's like, I won't let you drain this village's blood anymore. I want it for my own. And then he just turns into a werewolf.
It's the best part. It's so great.
What a great ending. It's yeah.
Out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's like such a, I mean, it's a silly gag, but it's great. Like what a fun joke that Jonathan Harker has been a werewolf all along. And
it's just standard, because he turns away from us, and I guess puts the mask on, because it's just like he turns around, and then he turns around and he's got a mask on, and I'm a monster. It's just like something like a uncle would do,
Yes.
to a kid.
Yeah.
Hey guys, turn around, put it on. I'm a monster.
Yeah.
So good.
And it very much, yeah, it feels, because it's, yeah, he turned, it's like a play, he's got to do the special effect right there on stage. So yeah, he just like very clever. And it works really well. It's very effective. And what a great funny gag to end on, to have a surprise werewolf right there at the end.
Oh, so good. That's the last ending of the film.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a good one.
Yeah, and we don't have Carradine coming to wrap things up. There's no need. Like this is the ending. It's a great ending. I think we get some more like exterior shots of the castle that they've used for like I think every castle in the whole thing, as the credits go to roll. And it's just. It's a fun kind of silly anthology film, and yeah, it's just a great time. I really liked this one. I'm very glad to have gotten to do this one with you, because it's anthology films. It's rare to find one that's like good for us here on the Frankencast, because often like most of the segments have nothing to do with what we're talking about here. But here, I mean, we had two, and the remaining ones all feel very much in that Universal monster vein, or I guess more so like the Hammer and the Amicus vein. But yeah, just some classic Gothic monster stuff, and that's a good time. I'm always happy to have some vampires and werewolves mixed in as well. So yeah, just a really good time here.
Yeah, it was actually exactly what I was hoping for, and it was absolutely there. It was great.
Yeah,
and John Carradine was just the hammer putting in the nail and just keeping it going. It was great.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm really glad they got him in there to do that. It really added a lot.
Yeah. Whew. Loved it. It was great.
Yep.
It's great.
And of course, this one, you can find it on Tubi. I'll put a link in the show notes and everything so you all can find it. But what do you have going on? Do you have anything? I know we just recently over on the Patreon talked, and I know you've got a couple projects you're not quite ready to talk about. Are you?
Well, yeah, I just finished, I just directed a music video for the Mountain Goats.
Oh, wow. I saw a picture of you on social media with all of the Mountain Goats dressed in FBI gear, and I was like, oh, wow.
Yeah, it'll be coming out May 21st, so it's soon. It's a song that John, obviously he does them all. It's called Charlie Sheen Reaches Out to the Feds, and it'll be coming out on May 21st. So look for that.
So is this like the lead up to a new album then as well? Because that's not a song I know.
Album's coming. The song's coming out on the 13th, and then the video will come out on the 21st. And I think this is the first song of the album. The album's coming out right after that.
Amazing. That's such exciting news. Yeah. Wow. I am like a Mountain Goats super fan, so that is really exciting news. Well,
I've heard the album, and it's really good. Awesome. It's really good.
That's really great. Yeah, I really liked the last. I mean, I like them all. I really like the direction they're going in, and I was a little nervous with Peter leaving, but like they're still the Mountain Goats. They're great. So I'm super excited. So I'm so excited to have gotten this special news. So thank you so much.
Yeah, for sure. And I look forward to what you think of the music video. I'm looking forward to seeing when I see it. So
awesome.
We're still editing it. So
well, I'll definitely be sharing stuff about it when it drops so that people can check it out.
Oh, cool. I look forward to that.
All right.
It'd be cool.
And then we were talking. I know next week I'm gonna have Hayden on again. We're gonna be talking about A Nightmare Wakes. This is a sort of Mary Shelley biopic, but is taking a lot of liberties. So next week, catch us for that, and then the week after that, I think we'll have you, Tim. You'll be back, and I think we're going to be talking about a film just called Frankenstein.
I don't love that.
Yeah. So
get back to the origins.
Yeah. I like there's all kinds of but we've got a handful of movies with just Frankenstein as the title, and I kind of like to save those up every now and then for fun. So I'm real excited to discuss this next one with you. So look forward to that in the next couple weeks. And then as always, you can find. I'll put all this in the show notes, all the places you can find Tim, social media and websites and such. And then you can find us, of course, on all the socials at The Frankencast, and you can email us at thefrankencast@gmail.com. And if you want a little bit more Tim Kirk in your life, you can go over to the patreon.com/thefrankencast, where we recently read Mary Shelley's The Last Man and discussed that. So there's plenty of fun stuff over there for you. So we'd love to have you if you want to check out additional Frankencast and additional stuff from Tim.
Sounds good to me.
All right. And as always, to be continued.
survived another episode. The Frankencast is a production of FCR Media. It's hosted by Anthony Bowman, Eric Velasquez, and Hayden Orr. Follow us online at The Frankencast. Or send us a letter at thefrankencast@gmail.com. Our cover art is by Amanda Keller. You can find her at Keller Illustrations on Instagram. Our theme music is by Vivek Abhishek. Thanks for listening.